Another time with the enthusiastic tutor, and in today's tutorial it's going to be a continuation of the course, or should I say the grand finale of the course, CIT104. And just like as I've always said, this course is actually very related, or should I use similar to courses like GST103 and CIT102. They are all computer fundamentals, introduction to computers, and what have you. The modules and the units, they are very similar. Okay, so with this being said, let's hop straight into it. So I'm just going to switch this off. So I have CIT104. Okay. So the first thing we're going to be talking about today, on the thumbnail, we have algorithm and we have flowchat. But just before we go into that, I just want to quickly talk about programming aids. We have programming aids. All right. Now, before now, in our retrospective class, we talked about different programming languages. So now, and then we also established the fact that when we talk about programming, it's a series or set of instructions that tells what the computer is to do, and that also tells what not the computer user, which is the programmer, to do. So, I just want to talk about programming aids before we go into the main thing tonight. And we have the very first one, we have computer screen. I want to talk about programming aids. I think it's self-explanatory enough. The things that assist in programming. What are the tools, what are the things, whatever it is that assists programmers in the creation of series and set of instructions. So we have number one, we have the computer screen and the keyboard. It's just the monitor and keyboard. Okay, basically we all know what the monitor is. It displays the instructions, the response to the instructions given to the computer. It's one way we communicate with the computer. We use the input devices like keyboard, mouse, joystick, and what have you to give instructions to the computer, and the computer takes this in and gives back answer through this display. We have the display called the monitor. Also, we have what is called a program generator or application generator. We have application generator or program generator. Now, this as well helps programmer to generate. It's an application used in generating, codes for program. Program generator. It's also used in aiding programming. Now we also have database management. We have database management, and this has to do with the management of data during programming. It's a database, meaning that every data, every processed information, during the process of programming, this is responsible for the management of the data used in programming. And we also have what we call debugger. Okay, I think I'm missing something. Detector. Now, here, the debugger is responsible for detecting errors. Basically, that's what it does. We have something called bugs in tech. It's a normal thing. It happens a lot. So far, it's tech. It must always be there. There's no how perfect you can be. The thing is just that you have to debug when bugs are. And what are bugs? So we don't call them error. In accounting, you say you have to reconcile an account. Here, you don't reconcile, you debug when it comes to tech. So, debugger is also one thing that aids programming. And we have just 4 of them under the tool that aids programming. Now, let's proceed. Just a quick one. Let's take note of this. There's a very high level language. The very high level language is generally described as a 4th generation computer language. 4th generation computer language is said to be the very high level language. Very high level language. The 4th generation computer language are said to be the very high level language. So we have that as that. Now let's quickly talk about the stages of programming. There are stages involved when we talk about programming. Basically on the thumbnail tonight we have algorithm, and we have not just algorithm, we have the flowchat, and we have the pseudocode. All these things we are adding somewhere. So before we hit the nail on the head, it is necessary that we go through all this, talking about we've spoken about programming language before. Now we're talking about the programming aids. Now let's talk about the stages of programming. So let me erase this. So we have stages. Okay, now we have the very first stage. We have the problem definition stage. Problem Now, yesterday, or was it yesterday, or in our last class, we talked about application software, and we were able to establish the fact that application software are actually set of programs to solve specific problems. When we talk about applications, applications are softwares developed for a particular program. Yeah, applications are software developed for a particular program. Now we took examples. We took examples like soccer games. Yeah, we took example like applications like bookkeeping. Okay, Miss Martha says good evening. Good evening. It's great to have you. Miss Rena says good evening. It's great to have you on the stream. Okay, so we talked about application softwares, and we talked about quite some applications that we use to enhance our usage on the computer. Now let's say, for example, a programmer identifies a problem which is a computer or some computer user intend to have this application that can enable them, maybe like a recipe application, that they can just talk to the app and they can hack the app for recipes or series of recipes, and the app will provide them with these recipes. So if a programmer is giving that kind of a task, now we are going to illustrate that with the stages. Now there's a problem, there's a task, there's a program that needs to be written. So how does the programmer go about solving this problem? Now the very first one, we have problem definition. The very first stage of programming is for the programmer to first identify what the problem is. As soon as they identify what the problem is, then the very first problem is solved. Now we have the second stage. He has to devise the method of solution. Devise a method for solution. Now, speaking of which, to the second stage, having known the problem, then there are several methods that can be applied in solving this problem. So it has to devise which one is best, in solving this problem. Now, as soon as he discovers which best method to solving the problem, then he has to begin to develop suitable aids. Now, developing suitable aids, he has to now think of how to develop suitable aids. Aids in the sense that what will I do to help me expatiate or develop the chosen method. Now, let me use this analogy of for a workman or for a craftsman who is just handed over a project, and the instruction was, what will it cost us to enhance or establish this project and get this project running. Now it is in the place of craftsman to go and get what we call a quotation, maybe, or an estimate, to know what it will take to get this project running. Now, in programming, you don't do quotation, you don't do estimates. What you do is suitable aid, which are subdivided into flowcharts and pseudocode. Now, this flowchart we're talking about, basically, flowcharts and pseudocode, they work hand in hand. But one thing about flowcharts is that it does more of diagrams slash symbols, but here is just more of codes. Okay, Mr. Charles says good evening. I think I'm seeing that face for the very first time. Mr. Charles, are you just joining this class for the first time? Codes slash logic. Now, talking about the suitable aid, it has to go with either of these two. Now, for example, let me do a quick analogy. Now we have flow charts, and we have codes slash logic. Now you want to create an app, okay, a recipe app. Now let's have this box as the home page, and we have recipe. Now it is expected that there was a link. Okay, there was a link, an hyperlink. Let's not forget, we said something about, okay, it's not what, so something in this class, it was in GST 103 that we said something about hyperlink. And what are hyperlinks? They are bolded text or graphics that when you click on them, okay, now let me not say that, they are bolded text or graphics that has embedded in them a URL, meaning that the URL will take you to another address. When you see, maybe you are reading something online, or you come across an article and you notice that there's this particular word that is not like the regular words, the color of the font usually is actually black, but maybe these ones that are called hyperlink might be in blue or red. So those ones, when you click on them, they are responsive. They are called hyperlink. They take you somewhere else. Now, there's a link that must be sent to bring you here, or there's an app, there's a downloading that you need to do that will bring you here. We are trying to explain the flow chart. You understand? Now, when you click on this link, it brings you to the home page. Now, on the home page, it has other things where you have recipe for local foods, recipe for foreign foods. then you bypass this, then you still have again, you are trying all these things. Now you are trying to develop a suitable head. If flowcharts will be the one to quickly help you get to where you are going to, then it's fine. If it's codes or logic that will help you get where you are going to without stress and easily, and will not change the tone or the effect, or do not wash down the potency of your program, then all good. So what I'm just trying to do here is that flowchart is more of diagrams and symbols, while codes, maybe you have recipe. Now then this one now equals to maybe to your own page, you know, and you keep writing, and the logic, this is basically more of logic, and you know, so we have that as that. But basically when we talk about flowchart, we talk about diagrams and symbols. Though I will get to know that well. Let's proceed. We are still on the stages. Now that's number 3. We have number 4. Now for number 4 we have writing the instructions in a programming language. Now that you now know what you want, now that you have developed the suitable means, then you now start to write your instructions. Now you start programming. Start writing your set of instructions. So after you are done writing, then you transcribe. Then you transcribe your instructions. And as soon as you are done transcribing, then you now start debugging for anywhere that you made error. In writing, we call it proofreading. By the time you know this method actually applies to a lot of things. You know, for example, as a writer that I am, if you want to write about something, you just definitely have to have a topic. If you don't have a topic yet, at least something must prompt your writing. So that would be your subject matter. You know, we call it subject matter in I think in the class we did on that's Edu 211, if I'm not mistaken, whereby we have this triangle, whereby we have the subject matter, we have the teacher, and we have students. So it's called the triad. If any of students doing that course is here, they will attest to it. Meaning that in education, there's always a subject matter. Being a teacher, impacting knowledge, there's always a subject matter, and it's all around. It's all revolve around the triangle, whereby we have the teacher, we have the student, and we have the subject matter. There can be no. If anything happens to any of these three, then the rest is affected severely. You know, there's nothing to teach. We don't have the teacher, and we don't have the students to learn. And if there's a subject matter and there's not a teacher, they will have the students. There will be nothing to impact to the students using the subject matter. So just like that, there has to be a topic. You know, then you start making your research, your keyword research and the likes. You start to write. You know, put your paragraphs together. As soon as you're done proofreading, then you enter, you test it. So under proofreading, you test the program. Okay, as soon as you test the program, then you document. This documentation means save. Document, so you save. So that's just the process, basically. About 8 different procedures. First, you identify. Please, we need to pay attention to all these things, because you never can tell. You can be asked which is the 7th level in the stages involved in programming. So we have that at that. The problem definition, the devising method, the develop suitable aid, then you start your programming, then you transcribe, you debug, you test the program, then you do your documentation. And we have that as that. Now let's proceed. This permits me, I feel dehydrated right now. permit me to take some water. All right, now let's proceed. So I'm just going to erase this. Okay. Now we talk about flowcharts. Now we talk about flowcharts. Now we've already said something about flowcharts already. Now, but here is a detailed definition of what flowchart is. Now, flowchart is said to be a graphical representation of what? Major steps of work in progress. Of work in progress. A graphical representation of major steps of work in progress. Yes, a graphical representation of major steps of work in progress. So we have that as that. Now, flowcharts are drawn with helps of symbols. Okay, drawn with help of symbols. So it is with flowcharts that you see symbols. Okay, so we have that as that. Now, just right under flowcharts, we have what we call algorithm. Now, algorithms, speaking of which, it is named after the 19th century scholar, 19th century, after the 19th century scholar Abu Jafar Muhammad. Abu Jafar Muhammad. Okay, and it's said to be a list of instructions used to solve problems or perform tasks. Instructions used to solve a problem slash perform task. So we have that as algorithm. Okay, now let's proceed. Just a moment. Now, algorithm is also said to be a set of rules for carrying out calculation either by hand or machine. A set of rules for carrying out calculation, a set of rules for carrying out calculation either by hand or machine. Hand or machine. So we have that under algorithm. Now let's talk about pseudocode. Pseudocode pseudocode is a program. It's a program, and it's designed to aid and serve the function of a flowchart in expressing the detailed logic. Now, it says here, a program design aid. A program design aid it's a program design aid that serves the function of a flowchart in expressing detailed logic. Flowchart in expressing detailed logic. In expressing detailed logic. I believe you can see. Yeah, okay. In expressing detailed logic. Can we see that? A program design aid, it serves the function of a flowchart, no doubt, but it does more of the expression of detailed logic. And we have that as that. So let's proceed. So just under it, we have what we call decision table. Now, speaking of which, decision table are used to analyze problems. Are used to analyze problem. The condition applying in the problems are set out the actions to be taken as a result of any combination of conditions arising. So we have set out the problem and action to be taken. So we have that is that. Okay. Now very quickly, let's take note of the word. Let's take note of this word, W-Y-S-I, W-Y-I, W-Y-S-I, W-Y-Y-G. Now, this is the full meaning of what you see is what you get. W-Y-S-I-W-Y-G. Okay, so we have that as that. Now, we have, let's take note of this, what we call the clipboard. The clipboard. Now, this is the Windows environment that provides a temporary storage. Windows environment. That does what? Provide temporary. Maybe sometimes you just save something, you see it on your phone, on your system, saved to clipboard. It is Windows environment that provides temporary storage, and when you use copy, oh my goodness, I think I need to trash this. Okay, basically you use move or text, you move, copy text. So we have that does that, and let's take into cognizance of Control L plus B. We have Control L plus I, and we have Control L plus U. So this gives us bold, this gives us a italic, and this gives us underline. Okay, so on these notes, call it a wrap today. And okay, just before we call it a wrap, let's quickly take this. We have a chart. A chart is said to be information presented in form of table, okay, graph or diagram. Now when we talk about a graph is a diagram showing the relation between variable quantities, usually two, each measured along one of a pair of axes at right angles. Diagram showing the relations between variables, that's a graph. Right? A graph is a pictorial representation, a pictorial presentation of a service of value. So we have that as that, and on this note, call it a wrap. So thank you very much, everyone. So for this week, we've been able to, a lot have been going down in the private class, on the Telegram class. So we've been able to conclude with this course, and by next week, unfailingly, we'll definitely pick up another course. And for each and every one of us that be interested in the course CIT105 classes, let's do well to reach out to me so I can add you to the classroom, so that by the time we start, because our videos for CIT105 will not be public. Definitely it will not be public. Maybe for the previous ones on the channel, definitely those ones are private, and maybe in due time we might still make them private, but for now they are public, you understand. So definitely you can still gain a thing or two, but the practical class of CIT105, we are going to make it, it's going to be restricted alone to people in the classroom. So if you are here to join the classroom, do well to reach out to me, or use the link in the description of this video, tutorio.com, and you can book a class, and you can also be a member of the classroom. It's a very serious class where you get keynote, like the notes I use in tutorial, I give them to the students at the end of each course. Tutorials, study your TMAs, good grades. When you join the class, your TMAs are certain that you're going to get good grades when you join the class with us, and you're going to also get live practice questions that comes out in the exams a lot. A lot of students that did it with us in the first semester, that are in second semester, and a lot of them can testify. So that's what it is. Some serious business here. Thank you very much, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you in subsequent tutorial. Bye bye.